What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for February 20th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. It is a Tuesday, time for a little motivation / positivity, and this one really hit home this morning specifically. And that quote I saw a couple times over the past couple weeks on social media. It won't happen overnight, but if you quit, it won't happen at all. And that's just a great way to look at things, and especially on a day like today when it's Tuesday, it was a holiday yesterday, and you set your alarm to get up and work out, and you set it for Monday when in fact today is Tuesday. But we're not going to let that get us down. We're not going to quit. We're just going to keep going and realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint, so to speak. So we'll get back on the horse either later this afternoon or tomorrow. But I think it's a good way to look at just a lot of things in life, especially in today's society. We're expecting instant gratification. So it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, especially things like this with the podcast. I've been doing it now for going on a year and a half, I think. Or I don't even know, going on 2 years actually. So I've been doing it over a year and a half. But it's been a slow process. We're getting there. Not where I want to be, but we're on the way, and it's not going to happen overnight. But if I stop doing this, it's not going to happen. And again, whether that is weight loss, a training plan, relationships, whatever you want to do, you just got to keep going and realize that you're there. You're on your way, and stop comparing to other people who are different spots in their journey, and just run your race, so to speak. I know there's a lot of racing analogies in there, but I've done, like, it's easy to get caught up if you ever run in a race with, oh, these people are passing me, or I got to keep up pace with this. And no, you just stay consistent with what you're doing, and you'll get there. And just know that it's not going to happen overnight, but if you quit, it won't happen at all. Hopefully that'll help you throughout your week this week when something inevitably is going to get tough. Just know that don't give up, and it will happen. It just won't happen overnight. And I think it's a good lesson, and just for life, especially for kids these days. Like, be patient. Things will work out. So that is today's motivation / positivity for the day. Tune in next week for more on that. Before we get into the episode, I mentioned about things not happening instantly, and I mentioned just stuff with the podcast, and I've been saying it for about a week now, but Back to the Future is not necessarily going away. I'm not throwing it completely out, but I'm saving it for special things, whether it's interviews, roundtables, previews of the Philly season, Eagles, Sixers, whatever preview we're doing for that sport. And it's going to be kind of, like I said, a special thing. So the best way to stay in the loop is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. I'm excited because tonight I am interviewing Brian Michael from A League Apart. It's an exhibit on the legacy of the Negro Leagues in the Philadelphia area. Be sure to check out that website. Look for that later this week. I'm super excited to sit down with him this evening. I've had the opportunity to go out and see the exhibit last week. It's phenomenal. I learned a lot in just the short amount of time I was there. They have some special events and things coming up. So be on the lookout for the latest Back to the Future, where we sit down with Brian Michael, the curator of the A League Apart exhibit. It takes a deeper dive into the legacy of the Negro Leagues in Philadelphia. That will likely, if everything goes well, barring something crazy, it'll be up Friday or by Thursday. If not, it'll be Friday. So stay tuned for that. All right. I mentioned that I set the alarm for Monday because we were off yesterday for President's Day. And that is the recap of today's question of the day. And I asked, who is the best Philadelphia player with a presidential last name? And it was a three-way tie between the options I gave out and put on the social media were a poll. But between Lane Johnson, Deshaun Jackson, and Steve Van Buren, third the whole way. We did have some interesting write-in votes. Von Hayes got a write-in vote. David Buchanan, Kurt Ford. So thank you. Had a little bit of fun on President's Day with that. As always, 267-495-8531 gets you in on the voice and text line. want to start pushing some more of those voicemails so we can start playing them. Ironically enough, I was looking because most of the guys on the list were Eagles, and I was looking in the Phillies. The Phillies, believe it or not, in the long over 100 and whatever year history of the team, have not ever, I guess 140 years it would have been for the Phillies. Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay, roughly. They have never had a player with the last name Washington make the big time club. There's a little fun nugget for you guys on a Tuesday morning. I mentioned getting that number up to 100 subscribers on YouTube, Jimbo_Mont. Every little bit helps. We got a good thing going here. Let's continue to grow it. Spread the word. Tell your friends, family. Hell, I mean, I used to say it all the time, but even tell your enemies. Why not? The more the merrier. If your dog has a Spotify account, let them know as well. We've been doing a good job with Girl Scout cookies. Ella is so close to 200 boxes. Go click in the link, help her get to 200. I think that's another one of the milestones for Girl Scout cookies. Time is running out, so go get your Girl Scout cookies from Ella. Get her up over 200. I'm telling you, we're taking out soccer moms one at a time. Everything you need is in the description. The link, everything takes you right to her page and lets you help her and her tribe out. All right. It's been because of the All-Star break and the way the Flyer schedule has been, Sixers and Flyers, there's not a lot going on with them. Flyers are in action tomorrow in Chicago. The Sixers kick off their post-All-Star break slate Thursday at home against the Knicks. Not really much coming out, just a lot of talk about Nick Nurse and what the rotations are going to be. I'm anxiously waiting because it's been about a month or so since Joe had his surgery. So they said in 30 days we'll be able to evaluate it. That should be coming up. And I think that ultimately is going to decide and determine what the expectations for the rest of the season should be. I know I saw a lot of articles about predicting what the Sixers win total is going to be based on what they have, this, that, and the other. And honestly, I don't think we're going to know until we get more of a definitive word on Joe's knee. Because truthfully, they have not played well. I'm hopeful that Nick Nurse has them come out of the All-Star break ready to go, but we'll see on Thursday. We have some Union news, though. The Union have been in the middle of their preseason, and they've been playing friendlies and getting ready. They open up the CONCACAF Champions Cup tournament tonight against Saprissa down in Costa Rica. And then they open up their MLS slate on Saturday against the Chicago Fire down in Subaru Park. So we do have some soccer and a lot of talk about the Phillies and how they're running it back on the team they had last year. And we kind of feel one way about that. Apparently the Union are running it back as well, and a lot of mixed feelings about that. But just gives us something else to fill the void because there's no football. But looking forward to that. They play 10 o'clock tonight, so definitely I'm not going to be able to stay up for soccer. And I think T-Mobile, I got to look. I had the free MLS package, so I was able to watch some of those games last year. So looking forward to the Union kicking off, though. Speaking of the Phillies, Whit Merrifield reported to training camp or spring training and basically said, I've done a lot in my career except for win. And that's why he decided to come to the Phillies. So you got to like somebody with that type of mindset and mentality coming into this clubhouse that already is a close-knit group that has their eyes on the prize. You can tell just by the way the interviews and the way they've been talking. So I think he's going to be a good fit. But that also led to a lot of debates yesterday on whether or not Bryce Harper is the reason that Rhys Hoskins is not in Philly anymore. And, I mean, on the surface, it's easy to make that connection. Bryce played first base, and Rhys was a first baseman. But then there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and they were talking about, is this the organization deciding it? And if you hear Harper, he's kind of like, well, they kind of said this is best long term. Topper was like, oh, well, we're a better team with Reese. And I don't know if I buy into that. I feel like, and I say it all the time, and it was bad with the Eagles, but don't do this with the Phillies. Don't manufacture stories or drama just to get clicks on your website. Reese's time, like everybody knew Reese was done when he blew out his knee. Like there was a chance he probably wasn't going to be back. And if you take a step back and look at the 10,000 foot view, Bryce Harper at first base is what's best for this team as it's currently constructed, because then it allows you to have Marsh, Castellanos, and Rojas in the outfield. You don't have to worry about who's going to DH, who's going to play where. You can put Schwarber at DH, and then you got Merrifield there to fill in and do things. If you have Harper in right field, that just cloudies everything. You don't get to see Marsh or Rojas really. All right, they're going to end up being a platoon. So I think as the way the team is constructed, it is the right move. But again, it was the fodder on a President's Day yesterday. So we'll see. Eagles, we do have some Eagles news. They voided apparently the rest of Marcus Mariota's contract, so they will be looking for a backup quarterback unless Tanner McKee is going to fill that role, which I'm okay with. Whatever. I mean, honestly, if Jalen goes down, we're screwed anyway. So it's kind of one of those things. We have other needs where we don't necessarily need to put a ton of money into backup quarterback. Devontae said he spoke with Kellen Moore and says he thinks he'll get the best out of his players. He said he's not a big rah-rah guy. He's just trying to do what's best for them. I like that. And hopefully with the way this team, like offensively, I think they're fine. Yes, they need some running back depth, but I think they're fine offensively. I want to see them focus on the defense and let Kellen Moore just get into the lab and make up whatever he can for this offense and maximize Jalen, maximize Devontae, maximize AJ, Dallas, whoever. Let him just, to borrow the Russell Wilson thing, let's let Kellen cook, man. It does seem like the reports yesterday were that it will be, in fact, the Browns opening up the season against the Eagles down in Brazil. Lots of people were saying that's the feeling from the league office. It is what it is. I thought it'd be cool to have the Steelers, but there's a lot of question marks surrounding them. But, I mean, Cleveland, that's one of those, it's a good, like, Cleveland Eagles, like they always open up with some of those random, when it's not Washington, some random teams. So we'll take it. And then finally, Chris Sims, the jackass, opened up his mouth again and said Jalen Hurts is the most overrated player in the NFL. And I mean, at this point, nothing surprises me with this dude. This guy, for some reason, I don't know if it stems back to when his dad played for the Giants, or what, man, but this dude just really is full of the asinine hot takes against the Eagles for some reason. Again, like if I had to put my guess on it, I guess he had a bad experience when his dad played here. Seems like the Eagles always beat the Giants back then when Phil Simms was the quarterback. So maybe he's just butthurt over that and fighting his dad's battles. Who knows? But Chris Sims, once again, opened up his mouth and said something idiotic. But what are you going to do? Like Jim Schwartz used to say, if you continue to do dumbass things, people are going to think you're a dumbass. If you continue to say idiotic things, Chris, people are going to think you're an idiot. And you're definitely well on your way to proving them right. You know who's not going to prove you wrong and who's not going to say something idiotic? PhillyGoat.com. I've been telling you, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. Go check them out. They have all kinds of Philly sports-based St. Patty's Day stuff. And then you got to top it off with the McGillans, man. Like, get a pair of the McGillans with the Shamrocks. Those things are hot. And then, honestly, if you want, get a pair of the Fans and have the Fanatic ones. You can mix and match and make them work for your outfit. I can only do so much. Go to PhillyGoat.com. Check it out for yourself. You won't be disappointed. Cannot wait to wear them around this summer. But go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. They got you covered for St. Patty's Day. Things are hot. All right, today we're going to go back to the year 2000. And on this day in 2000, the number 15 ranked Temple Owls went into Cincinnati, excuse me, and beat the number 1 team in the country, Cincinnati, 77-69. The Owls were down 6 with 8 minutes left and ended up pulling out the victory. The win ended Cincinnati's 42-game home winning streak. They actually had a 16-game winning streak that season. That was ended. I'll never forget this game as long as I live because Pepe Sanchez was dealing with a sprained ankle that he had hurt in the game against Dayton and was supposed to miss the game. And we really thought at that point there was just no chance. We had to go out there without our leader at the time. But last minute, they were able to get him taped up and ready to go. He played. He honestly was the glue that held that team together for 3 or 4 years, however long. I forget whether he was played for 4 years or whether he... Either way, he was just the glue of that team. Mark Karcher led all scorers with 28. Quincy Wadley added 16. Pepe, for what it's worth, had 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. But it was more his presence and leadership on the court that made the difference. Defensively, the Owls held Kenyon Martin to 13 points on 5 of 14 shooting. Lost in the mix of this because it was an upset of the number 1 team in the country. John Chaney got his 400th win at Temple in this game. It was the Owls' 11th game in a row. They were certifiably hot at that point. They ended up losing one more regular season game to St. Joe's, but rolled through the A-10, went into the NCAA tournament as a number 2 seed, and that happened to be, unfortunately, the Ty Shine year. But on this day in 2000, we beat the number 1 team, Cincinnati, who at the time, I talked last week about the UMass Temple rivalry. Even though they weren't in the same conference, Cincinnati and Temple had a pretty fierce rivalry during this time, too. They always met... It seemed like they met a lot during the regular season. They met a few times in the NCAA tournament. And it was just one of those teams, no matter how good Cincinnati was, it seemed like the Owls always... John Chaney had Bob Huggins' number for some reason. But I remember a bunch of my friends went out. Our one buddy was from the Cincinnati area. So a bunch of people went out to his house to attend this game live. I stayed back. I forget whether I had a... midterm or something for work. There was a reason why I didn't go out, but Broad Street was just crazy. Everybody came out. We shut down Broad Street for a little bit, had some fun on a Sunday afternoon. I remember the next day it was the big deal because Temple was up to number 8. And I remember being interviewed for, I believe it was Channel 10, and asking about the Owls prospects in the tournament. And I just remember being on camera going, "We're number 8. It was the silliest thing ever, but I'll never forget it. "We're number 8. And they kept replaying it as they were interviewing other people. They shot back to my face. "We're number 8. But it was just, this quite possibly was one of John Chaney's best teams other than that 1988 team. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get out of Buffalo that year. But on this day, back in 2000, the Owls beat the Cincinnati Bearcats 77-69 when they were ranked number 1, shooting up the polls to number 8. They ended up the season number 5. They ended up with a 2 seed. They were very close to getting a 1 seed that year. This is right around the time that the selection committee would rank the teams, and Temple was the top 2nd seed, I believe. But it just was not meant to be that year. However, leads me because looking through John Chaney's career, he had a ton of great players. And I'm not talking necessarily success in the NBA, although he had a lot of guys that had solid NBA careers. But I'm sure everybody's going to have an opinion on this. So I picked my top 4 for you guys to vote on. If I missed somebody that should have been on this list, please let me know. But who was the best Temple Owl during John Chaney's tenure? Was it Mark Macon, Eddie Jones, Aaron McKee, or Lynn Greer? Yes, I did not put my boy Pepe on there. I could have easily put him on there, but I think those 4 to me were the 4 best guys. And I mean, I wrote down a list of people that I know people are going to have an opinion on, so I'm anxious to see what you guys think. But who was the best Temple Owl under John Chaney? Is it Mark Macon, Eddie Jones, Aaron McKie, or Lynn Greer, or somebody else that I missed? Be sure to let me know. 267-495-8531. Leave a voicemail. Rip me on how bad I am for not including whoever. Rip me for not going to Cincinnati to see this game live. Looking back on it, I was pissed that I didn't go. Rip me for being we're number 8. Whatever you got to do. 267-495-8531 gets you in. But who was it? Aaron McKie, Eddie Jones, Lynn Greer, or Mark Macon? Who's the best Owl under John Chaney? All right, finally today, our Philly Sports Black History Spotlight. We're going to stick with college hoops and take a look at Mike Bantam. He was a power forward center from Philly, went to Roman Catholic, and then started at St. Joe's. In 1973, he was a third-team All-American. He is St. Joe's second all-time leading rebounder, 13.7 per game. His number 44 is retired by St. Joe's. He's in the Big Five Hall of Fame. Interesting fact on him, he was on the 1972 U.S. men's basketball team that won the silver medal in that Olympics. But if you know what happened, lots have happened in that Olympics, but there was a lot of controversy surrounding that gold medal game against Russia. I guess it was the Soviet Union back then. And the last 3 seconds of the game was replayed 3 times because of just various reasons, and it was very shady about what happened. Up until that point, the United States had never not won a gold medal. So the fact that it would seem like they were trying to almost rig it, but because of how shady it was and how fixed it was, that team never accepted the silver medals. They just were like, the medal stands were blank just because of the shadiness and just the controversy behind it. But Mike Bantam was on that team. He ended up being the 8th overall pick in the 1973 draft for the Phoenix Suns. Had a solid professional career, played 15 years, 8 in the NBA, and then played 7 in Italy. He was on the all-rookie team in the NBA in 1974. Did come home to play 43 games for the Sixers. I think it was like 1981 he played. So he was not necessarily, he wasn't on the championship team. He was on the team that did go to the finals, I believe. But a solid NBA career, averaging 12 points a game, 6 rebounds. Lots of players would kill for that stat line. He is in St. Joe's Hall of Fame, obviously with his number retired, the Big Five Hall of Fame, and the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Is an Olympic silver medalist, probably should be a gold medalist. If you go back and look up the controversies behind that, that team was the gold medal winner, but it was a lot of just drama and political BS that cost them. But Mike Bantam is today's Philly Sports Black History Spotlight of the day. On this day back in 2000, my Temple Owls, number 15 in the country, knocked off the number 1 team, Cincinnati, out in Cincinnati. And it pains me to this day to say that Temple was ranked in the top 15 because if you look at the state of the team now, it is embarrassing. And I don't want to spend a lot of time and take away from Coach Chaney, so we're going to leave the Temple rant for another day. But it's an utter embarrassment what has happened to this team. Piss poor planning. But on this day, they were on top of the world when they beat the number 1 team in the country. We shut down Broad Street, had some fun. We're number 8 en route to the 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Let me know who was the best player under John Chaney. Was it Mark Macon, Eddie Jones, Aaron McKie, or Lynn Greer? 267-495-8531 gets you in. Be sure to check out my boys over at Philly Goat. Ryan's doing a great job over there. And get your St. Patty's Day stuff and use that promo code Jim Montgomery. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm telling you, good things are on the horizon. I'm looking forward to sitting down with Brian tonight, a league apart. Stay tuned for that. Hopefully Thursday. I'm going to try to get it done tomorrow night. All the editing and things like that. But worst case, it'll be up on Friday. But again, the best way to stay in the loop is just subscribe to that YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Get in touch with me. Let me know who the best player is under Chaney. Remember, It's not going to happen overnight, but if you quit, it won't happen at all. So we're going to get back on the horse and make sure we set the alarm for the right day tomorrow morning and get back at them and just make sure we're back on our journey. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.